In this video, we'll be configuring WireGuard Site-to-Site VPN as an alternative to IPsec Site-to-Site for the same purpose of having a secure connection over the internet. Here is our topology. We have Site A that has Mikrotik, Site B that has pfSense, and Site C which also has pfSense. This is a lab environment, and just assume the assigned WAN IPs in here are public IPs and connected over the internet. In Site A, we have a LAN subnet of 192.168.3.0/24, and our test PC is on 192.168.3.10. The WAN IP is 192.168.8.220. In Site B, the LAN subnet is 192.168.2.0/24, and the test PC is on 192.168.2.10. WAN IP is 192.168.8.230. In Site C, LAN subnet is 192.168.1.0/24, and test PC is on 192.168.1.10. WAN IP is 192.168.8.215. We'll set up WireGuard first between Site B and Site C, then Site A and Site B, and lastly Site A and Site C. I'll dedicate 10.0.0.0/24 network subnet and assigned usable IPs in the subnet range to the WireGuard tunnel interfaces. In Site A, I have assigned 10.0.0.3 for the WireGuard interface, or short for WGINT. In Site B, it is 10.0.0.2, and in Site C, I have here 10.0.0.1. You can assign any subnet range for the WireGuard interface as long as it is unique in the network without conflict or duplicate. Once WireGuard tunnel is up, represented by these animated lines, the local PCs on each site should be able to get connectivity to the remote PCs at the remote sites. We'll just use ping to verify reachability. I have set up an access to the 3 firewalls and 3 computers on this remote desktop manager. We have Mikrotik's Winbox on Site A-Mikrotik, Sites B and C for the pfSense web management. For the 3 PCs, we have the command prompt or shell open, 192.168.1.10 and 192.168.2.10 are both Windows machines, while 192.168.3.10 is a Kali machine. Let us verify if we can ping the remote PCs. On 192.168.1.10, I'll ping 2.10 and 3.10. We are getting timeout. Let us check the other 2 machines. On 192.168.2.10, pinging 1.10 and 3.10 resulted to request timed out. On 192.168.3.10, pinging 1.10 and 2.10 are not reachable. As expected, there is no connectivity to the remote PCs. Let us start setting up WireGuard between Site B and Site C. By default, WireGuard is not available natively on pfSense, and this requires a WireGuard package to be installed first. In Site B's pfSense, I have already installed the WireGuard package in advance. We can see the installed WireGuard package by going to System, then select Package Manager. Under VPN, we have this WireGuard option available in here. In Site C's pfSense under VPN, there is no WireGuard option. The package is not installed yet and will quickly go through the steps. Go to System and select Package Manager. Click on Available Packages, search for WireGuard, look for WireGuard package and then click Install. Click Confirm and wait for the package to get installed. WireGuard package has been installed successfully. Now we have WireGuard option available under VPN. Back at site-based pfSense, open WireGuard, go to Settings, ensure WireGuard is enabled. Let us change the interface group membership from all tunnels to only unassigned tunnels. By default, all tunnels are included in the WireGuard interface group. By selecting only unassigned tunnels, the rules in the WireGuard interface group won't get applied, and just the one that will set directly on the WireGuard interface. Click Save and apply the changes. I'll show you where we can find this WireGuard interface group. We go to Firewall and select Rules. This is the WireGuard interface group. When we create a WireGuard tunnel later, there will be a separate interface for it in here. Let us go back to WireGuard and select Tunnels. Click Add Tunnel. Ensure tunnel is enabled. I'll call this Site B to Site C for the description. The default WireGuard listening port on pfSense is set to 51820 and I'll leave it as it is. This listening port can be changed to a preferred port number as long as there is no conflict and not blocked by the ISP. For the interface keys, we need a private and public key pair, which will be used for securing the connection. Click this Generate button to get a new set of keys. We have the private key populated in here and the public key which is visible. This public key can be copied and pasted on site pfSense when creating the pair. This ton_WG0 is the WireGuard tunnel interface name. The IP address that will assign to this WireGuard tunnel interface ton_WG0 for site B is 10.0.0.2, as we can see from the topology here. In site C's pfSense, WireGuard tunnel interface IP is 10.0.0.1. In the interface address, enter 10.0.0.2. I'll have this on a /24 mask. I'll call this WG interface. Click Save Tunnel and apply. We have created a WireGuard tunnel for site B to site C. We can see the public key, the IP address assigned to it, and the listening port. Next is we go to peers, click Add Peer, ensure peer is enabled, select ton_WG0 for the tunnel. This configuration will be for the site C peer. I'll just call this site C-peer. I'll uncheck dynamic endpoint so that we can set site C's WAN IP manually. In our topology, site C's WAN IP is 192.168.8.215. We'll enter this IP for the endpoint, and for the endpoint port or WireGuard listening port of site C, we'll have it on 51820 since site C is also a pfSense box and that is the default listening port. Now, where do we get a public key for Site C peer? We need to go to Site C's pfSense, configure WireGuard tunnel, and generate a private public key pair. Open WireGuard, go to Settings first, ensure WireGuard is enabled, change the interface group membership to only unassigned tunnels, save and apply changes. Go to Tunnels and click Add Tunnel. Enable Tunnels is checked. For the description, I'll just put in here Site C to Site B. Leave 51820 as the default WireGuard listening port. Click Generate to get a new key pair. We can copy this public key of Site C and paste it on Site B's peer configuration. Click Copy and go to Site B's pfSense and paste the public key. No need for pre-shared key at this time. In the allowed IPs, this will be the IPs or subnets at the remote site that we want to communicate with. From the topology, we are at Site B, and we wanted the local subnets 192.168.2.0/24 to reach Site C's network 192.168.1.0/24. I'll enter 192.168.1.0 with /24 mask. We'll just call this Site C network. We need to add also the WireGuard tunnel interface IPs. I'll put in here the network address 10.0.0.0/24 that will cover the WireGuard IPs, and we'll call this WG or WireGuard network in the description. We have created one peer called Site C-peer. We can see the public key of Site C, the tunnel interface named ton_WG0, the allowed networks, and the WAN IP of Site C with its listening port. We go to Site C pfSense and continue the configuration. The ton_WG0 interface IP for Site C is 10.0.0.1, mask is /24, and we'll call this WG interface in the description. Next is we go to peers. The peer here is for Site B. Click Add Peer. Select ton_WG0 for the tunnel. For the description, I'll name this Site B-peer. Uncheck Dynamic Endpoint. Enter Site B's WAN IP 192.168.8.230 as the endpoint and 51820 for the endpoint port. The public key that we need to put in here is Site B's public key. We go to Site B pfSense, select Tunnels, and click the Edit icon. Copy the public key from here. Go back to Site C pfSense and paste it. No need for the pre-shared key, this is optional. In the allowed IPs, this will be Site B and WireGuard network addresses. From Site C, we need reachability to Site B's network 192.168.2.0/24. Add the WireGuard network 10.0.0.0/24. Save peer and apply changes. Let us check WireGuard status. Under latest handshake to Site B peer, it says never. In Site B's pfSense, WireGuard status to Site C peer also says never under latest handshake. The reason for this is that the WireGuard tunnel interface ton_WG0 is not configured yet. We go to interfaces and click assignments. In the available network ports, look for ton_WG0 and select it. Click add. Click on this auto default name OPT2. I'll change the description to WGINT. Enable the interface. Select static IPv4 for the IPv4 configuration type. Enter 10.0.0.2 for the IPv4 address with /24 mask. Leave the IPv4 upstream gateway to none. Save and apply. We have now WGINT in here, which is the WireGuard tunnel interface. We'll do the same in Site C pfSense. Go to interfaces and click assignments. ton_WG0 is the only available network ports that we can add. Click OPT6. Enable the interface. I'll change the description to WGINT. Static IPv4 for the configuration type. Enter 10.0.0.1 with /24 mask for the IPv4 address, none for the upstream gateway. Save and apply. Going back to Site B's pfSense, next step is to add a firewall rule to allow UDP 51820 going to the WAN IP address. Under WAN, add a rule and put it at the top. Action is pass, interface is WAN, address family is IPv4, protocol is UDP, source is any. This can be the incoming source WAN IP. I'll just leave it as any. For the destination, select WAN address, or this is the default object name for the WAN IP 192.168.8.230. Enter the custom port 51820 for the destination port range. Allow WireGuard 51820 for the description. Save and apply. We'll do the same on Site C's pfSense. Add a firewall rule at the top in WAN to allow UDP 51820 inbound going to the WAN address. Let us check the WireGuard status, and looks like we have established a connection to Site B peer. In Site B's pfSense, WireGuard status shows that it established a handshake already to Site C peer. Next step is to add some routing. Go to System and select Routing. Add a gateway first. For the interface, select the WireGuard interface WGINT. Address family is IPv4. I'll name this gateway Site C-Gateway. Enter 10.0.0.1 for the gateway IP address, which is the assigned IP on Site C's WireGuard tunnel interface. Looks like it does not like the name. I'll change the name to Site C underscore GW. Go to Static Routes. Click Add. In the destination network, this is Site C's network address 192.168.1.0 with /24 subnet mask. For the gateway, select Site C underscore GW or 10.0.0.1. In the description, I'll call this route to Site C network. If you want to reach the remote network of Site C 192.168.1.0/24 from Site B, the next hop gateway is Site C's WireGuard tunnel interface IP 10.0.0.1. This is the whole purpose of adding this static route. We'll do the same process in Site C's pfSense. Go to System and then Routing. Add a gateway pointing to Site B's WireGuard tunnel interface assigned IP of 10.0.0.2. Then add a static route to reach Site B's network 192.168.2.0/24. The next hop gateway will be 10.0.0.2. I think we are done. Let us test connectivity at the test PCs. In 192.168.1.10, which is Site C's local PC, I'll try to ping Site B's PC on 192.168.2.10. It is timing out. In Site B's local PC 2.10, I'll ping Site C's PC on 1.10, and it is also not reachable. What are we missing in here? WireGuard tunnel is established and up. When 2.10 is pinging 1.10, the traffic goes through the WireGuard tunnel, receive at Site C's WireGuard interface, but there is no firewall rule on this interface that allows it. The same goes with the reverse traffic. There is no firewall rule inbound at the WireGuard interface on Site B. So the missing piece is that we need to create an inbound firewall rule in the WireGuard interface on both sites. Let's start at Site B's pfSense. Go to Firewall and select Rules. Under WGINT, click Add. Action is Pass. Interface is WGINT. Address family is IPv4. I'll set the protocol to any. For the source, select network and enter site C's network address 192.168.1.0 with /24 mask. For the destination, select network and enter site B's local network address 192.168.2.0 with /24 mask. I'll call this allow inbound traffic from site C to site B. We'll jump now to site C pfSense and do the same process. Under WGINT, create an inbound rule allowing traffic from site B's network 192.168.2.0/24 to site C's local network 192.168.1.0/24. We now have these firewall rules in place, and let us test connectivity. Back at site C's 1.10 PC, pinging site B's 2.10 is now reachable. From 2.10 to 1.10 is also reachable. When we refresh this page in the firewall rule, we can see some packet statistics indicating that this firewall rule has taken effect. We are done with establishing WireGuard between Site B and Site C. Next is to establish WireGuard between Site A and Site B. We go to Site A-Mikrotik. In Mikrotik, WireGuard is natively available already and does not require a package. Select WireGuard and click the plus sign. This is creating the WireGuard tunnel interface. I'll name this WGINT. The listening port is different, 13231. I'll change this to 51820 to match it on pfSense. For the key pair, there is no generate button. All we need to do in here to generate the keys is to click on apply. The public key is available now for copying, but we'll do this later. Next is to create the peer. I'll name this site B-peer. Interface is WGINT. For the public key, this is site B's public key. We go to site B's pfSense and edit the tunnel. Copy the public key, go back to site A Mikrotik and paste it. For the endpoint, enter site B's WAN IP 192.168.8.230. For the endpoint port, this is 51820. The allowed address is site B's network address 192.168.2.0/24 and add also the WireGuard network address 10.0.0.0/24. Click apply and OK. Next is to configure the WireGuard interface. Go to IP and select addresses. Let us add the IP address 10.0.0.3 with /24 mask. Then select WGINT for the interface. Next is to set up static routing. Go to IP and select routes. In the route list, we have a route in place for network 10.0.0.0/24 with an exit interface WGINT as the gateway. This was created automatically after setting up the WireGuard interface. Click the plus sign to add a static route. For the destination address, enter Site B's network 192.168.2.0/24 and the gateway is WGINT. To reach network 192.168.2.0/24, the exit gateway interface is WGINT. We'll jump now to Site B pfSense, click Peers, and add a peer for Site A. Tunnel is ton_WG0, and notice the description is Site B to Site C. However, we are establishing this WireGuard tunnel between Site B and Site A, right? This ton_WG0 is not exclusively for establishing tunnel between Site B to Site C, as it appeared in the description. To avoid confusion here, I'll rename the description of this ton_WG0. Go to Tunnels and click the edit icon. I'll just change the description in here to WGINT. Save tunnel and apply. Add a peer for Site A. For the tunnel, select ton_WG0 or WGINT, short for WireGuard interface. I'll call this Site A-peer. Uncheck dynamic endpoint. For the endpoint, enter Site A's WAN IP 192.168.8.220 and 51820 for the endpoint listening port. For the Site A peer public key, we'll jump quickly to Site A-Mikrotik, go to WireGuard, double-click WGINT, and copy the public key. Back to Site B's pfSense, paste the public key. In the allowed IPs, enter Site A's network address 192.168.3.0/24 and add also the WireGuard network address 10.0.0.0/24. Checking the WireGuard status. Looks like Site A-peer is established and there is some received and transmit statistics already. We go to Site B's local PC 2.10 and ping Site A's PC on 3.10. It is not reachable. On Site A's local PC 3.10, pinging Site B's PC 2.10 is also not reachable. In Site B's pfSense, we have not added a static route yet. Before we can add a static route, add a gateway for Site A's WireGuard tunnel interface IP 10.0.0.3. Add a static route to reach site A's network 192.168.3.0/24. The next hop gateway is site A's WireGuard interface IP 10.0.0.3. Add a firewall rule inbound to WGINT, allowing incoming traffic from Site A's network 192.168.3.0/24 to Site B's local network 192.168.2.0/24. Back to Site A's local PC 3.10, pinging 2.10 is now reachable. We can see some packet stats here on this firewall rule. In Site B's local PC 2.10, pinging Site A's PC 3.10 is also now reachable. In Site A-Mikrotik, we can see some transmit and received packets. Let us check the firewall rule. We go to IP and select firewall. There is no firewall rule in here. By default, all traffic is allowed. When you have an existing firewall in place, it would be best to add a rule allowing incoming traffic from Site B's network 192.168.2.0/24 going to Site A's local network 192.168.3.0/24. I'll add the rule. For the chain, select forward. The source address is 192.168.2.0/24. And the destination address is 192.168.3.0/24. For protocol, leave it as it is, which means any. Under Action tab, ensure the Accept is selected. Click Apply and OK. With this firewall in place, I'll run that ping test again and see if we can get some stats under packets or bytes. So we can see the counter for bytes has some value and packet count is 4 corresponding to the 4 pings. One more thing to add in the firewall rule is the inbound UDP 51820 port going to the WAN IP address. Select input for the chain. I'll leave the source address as any. The destination address is the WAN IP address 192.168.8.220. For the protocol, select UDP and destination port is 51820. We are done with establishing WireGuard tunnel between Site A and Site B. The last remaining goal to complete this is establishing WireGuard tunnel between Site A and Site C. Back at Site A Mikrotik, we'll add a new peer for Site C. I'll name this Site C-peer. Interface is WGINT. For the public key, we'll get this from Site C's pfSense WireGuard tunnel. For the endpoint, enter Site C's WAN IP address 192.168.8.215, and for the endpoint port or the listening port at Site C, it is 51820. In the allowed address, add Site C's network address 192.168.1.0/24 and WireGuard network address 10.0.0.0/24. Next is to add a static route. Go to IP and select Routes. To reach Site C's network 192.168.1.0/24, the exit gateway interface is WGINT. Next is to add a firewall rule allowing inbound traffic from Site C's network 192.168.1.0/24 to Site A's local network 192.168.3.0/24. We'll go now to Site C pfSense, add a peer for Site A. I'll make a change here first to the ton underscore WG0 description to WGINT. This peer configuration is for Site A-peer. Uncheck dynamic endpoint. For the endpoint, enter Site A's WAN IP 192.168.8.220 and 51820 for the endpoint listening port. For Site A peer public key, we'll get this from Site A-Mikrotik. In the allowed IPs, enter Site A's network address 192.168.3.0/24 and add WireGuard network address 10.0.0.0/24. Site A-peer status is established. Next, add a gateway and static route. To reach Site A's network 192.168.3.0/24, the next hop gateway is Site A's WireGuard tunnel interface IP 10.0.0.3. Next is adding a firewall rule under WGINT to allow inbound traffic coming from Site A's network 192.168.3.0/24 going to Site C's local network 192.168.1.0/24. I think we are done. We'll verify connectivity on site A's PC 3.10. Pinging site C's PC 1.10 is reachable. And from site C PC 1.10, pinging site A's PC 3.10 is also reachable. I'll do a quick trace route from site C's PC 1.10 to site A's PC 3.10, and this shows the hop IP of site A's WireGuard tunnel interface 10.0.0.3. From site A's PC 3.10, doing a trace route to site C's PC 1.10 is also showing the hop IP of site C's WireGuard tunnel interface 10.0.0.1. That is all for now, and see you on the next one.